Welcome to the Zen AF Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Julia Garcia Devaney. I'm a life and mindset coach for female founders, and my mission is to help thousands of ambitious, busy women become the number one asset in their life and business. Tune in as I share with you the behind the scenes of my own ambitious journey and help you bring the Zen back into your hustle so you can create the impact you desire and truly love your own ambitious journey as well. Welcome, and let's get into the episode. Hello, my ambitious babes. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? So glad to be recording this for all of you. Miami seems to be having a bit of a moment in terms of weather. There's a hurricane coming towards Florida. I don't think Miami is going to partake in any of that. Nonetheless, it is windy AF outside. I doubt you can hear the squeals of the air coming through my glass doors, but in case you do, that's what's going on over here. As far as updates, I'm in my second week of my hypnobirthing class, and it's going really fun. I'm doing some updates on my Instagram stories. If you guys want to follow along, it's at Julia Garcia Devaney, and I'll be sharing some of my experiences there. As far as my business goes, my Get Zen AF brand, the Zen AF Wellness Planner is still trucking along, still in the design phase, but I think I finally got a deadline together for my designer, and so hopefully I'll be able to send that to the manufacturers by like October, and so I'm really excited about that. If you guys want to sign up for the wait list, that's in the links in the show notes, and I would really love for you to follow along with that as well, that journey as well, on my TikTok, on my Instagram at Julia Garcia Devaney. All right, let's get into the episode. Today's episode has been one that I've been kind of holding off on making for a while, like a long time, mostly because I don't really love bringing you guys things about. I love bringing you guys behind the scenes in my experience and what I'm dealing with, but I usually like to just process everything first. And when I'm able to do that, I feel like it's much more valuable for all of you, because then I'm able to really kind of distill down some valuable takeaways for you, some things to even like steps for you to even take in order to kind of, get through your own experience if you're also going through it, the same thing that I am, things like that. But yeah, this one has taken me a little while because, and I don't even know if I have fully processed it. I think I have logically processed it, like what it's going to be and things like that. But in terms of like, do I still feel a little bit of some kind of way when things come up in this regard? And I'll tell you what the topic is in a minute. Yeah, I do still have some feelings to process, and I still get a little bit triggered, and I still feel a little something, even if it's just for a second, it's still there. My goal is always to just kind of get to a very neutral place where I literally don't care, or it just doesn't faze me, or it doesn't evoke any kind of emotion or, bodily kind of reaction in me at all. In general, that's kind of like the goal of coaching, is just at least to get to a neutral place, right? At least to get to a place that, again, you're not feeling any kind of which way about any in particular circumstance. I did touch on this topic a little bit last week. So without further ado, the topic today is non-supportive friends. Non-supportive friends and family, if that's something that resonates with you. It is a topic that I see come up so much in my life, in my clients' life, in my students' life, in the life of other, female entrepreneurs, founders that I'm in terms of groups and communities and network events. And like literally all the time, I hear that people, other women specifically, I guess, are looking to make other connections simply because, their current friends or family or whatever, they don't understand their journey. So therefore, there's a lot of loneliness on this journey of entrepreneurship, especially because other people just don't get it sometimes. For me, this was definitely something I experienced, but it was something that I experienced honestly more so in the industry that I'm in right now, which is personal development, coaching, things like that, because I feel like it's something that people already don't understand. Like, I feel like I have to explain to somebody quite a bit what life coaching is. And when people ask me, like, oh, what do you do? And I'll say, I'm a life coach. Like, I mean, I'm talking about, like, it just completely stumps them. Like, wait, what? I don't know what goes through their head. I don't want to, you know, put words in their mouth or in their head, but like, I assume it's things like, what the hell is life coaching? Maybe some of them are like, what the hell do you know about life? If they don't know me that well or whatever. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of things that kind of go on through people's head. Maybe they're afraid of being analyzed or judged, which is like the complete opposite of what we do. Just like a lot of different things. I don't know. There's a lot of silence there. I don't think I've ever called somebody out and been like, what are you thinking about this right now? So unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that, but it is an industry that is not widely, I don't even want to say accepted, but it's just like not known about. But even other industries, whether you're in the beauty industry, you're starting a business, whether you're in the fitness industry, you're starting something. Like when I was a Pilates instructor and I had my own Pilates practice, people understood that. They would like let me be there, they would be my guinea pigs in terms of like practicing my workouts on them and things like that. They understood that conceptually. They let me do that. They let me be that person almost. But when I became a life coach, people were like, "Ooh, you lost me." So much so that, I don't feel supported by quite a lot of my friends. Like, they don't understand to this day, even if they follow me on Instagram or anything like that, they don't understand like what I do actually. Some of them have been very supportive. They've come to my workshops, things like that. They like want to get it. But I think like there's still some resistance there because whenever I get together with any of my friends, not a lot of them ask about my business. I feel like just now, like people are starting to ask a little bit more, maybe, sort of, kind of. But in general, everybody would ask me mostly about being a mom. They would ask me mostly about like, as you guys know, I was teaching a couple of days a week at a studio for Pilates. And that was literally purely to network for my business. And so I could start doing workshops and just have a community of people in wellness. I just did it for more of the social aspect. I definitely didn't do it for the money. I didn't do it because I necessarily like couldn't do it on my own or whatever. Like I would have just had my own practice if I wanted to. Again, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to own my own practice anymore. I wanted it to be something that I went and did, connected with people, and it's really, really served its purpose for that sense. However, my friends like held on to that for their dear life as long as they didn't have to ask me about my business and try to understand that component. I think that they were happy with that. It's something that they could conceptualize so much better. And sometimes they don't even understand or know what I do kind of on a day-to-day basis. They just kind of assume that I am quote unquote just a mom, and they don't see the ins and outs of me running my business or anything like that. And, maybe that's on me. Like, make it look easy. That's okay. But yeah, like it did, and it has bothered me that more people were not a little bit more supportive or like interested or what have you. I don't know. I think I light up when it comes to entrepreneurship. If anybody is like, oh, I want to start a TikTok page or anything, like they want to create anything on their own, I completely light up. I try to support everybody as much as I can. I try to pay full price for all of the services and, everything that I could possibly do as a friend. But that's just me. That's just me because I know what it takes to create something new, to put yourself out there on your own, to be judged, to be, accepted or rejected or all those things. Like, I know what that entails. So I'm always kind of the first in line to support them in any kind of which way. So naturally, as a human, of course it hurts when it's not reciprocated or it's not received in any way of like what I am doing. So I 100% get you if this is something that you experience as well. But you guys just have to understand that most people will never put themselves out there the way we do as entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship in general is like I've never looked up the definition, but I'm sure the word risk is in there, right? And not a lot of people, just by human nature, like to take risks, right? And I'll talk a little bit about the human brain in this episode for sure. But not a lot of people are going to be out there taking risks, right? So of course it's a natural sometimes when other people, like watching other people do that. It is the whole reason, like we are a tribal, beings. And so when somebody steps out of that tribe and they're not in a 9 to 5, they're not in a, in my case, a bottle service career, they're not in like the bubble of like what is normally understood to be a job, right? Then it is weird. It is like, what are you doing? You are going outside of the norm. I don't know what that is. Like if I was a therapist, then I probably, would be more accepted, like because people like understand that, accept that or whatever. I don't want to be a therapist. If I wanted to be a therapist, I would have been a therapist, right? But I love coaching. I love the fact that I don't have to dwell on anybody's past too much. I love the fact that like you guys are gonna laugh, but literally I had been really interested in doing psychology like ever since I went to college and stuff like that. Sorry, it's so funny to me. It's so stupid, but it's so true. The reason I didn't become a psychologist is because I watched that movie Sixth Sense and I didn't want them kind of problems, okay? I didn't want nobody, like, I didn't want to mess up anybody or have somebody like come back and shoot me like years later and then have them blame me for their life. I don't know. I just, like, I am not the one. So that's why we don't dig into things as much like that, right? We are interested in going from, bad to good, that neutral place, and then from good to great. We don't dig too much into, the traumas, capital T traumas or anything like that. I am not qualified for that. I don't want to be qualified for that. That's not what we're here for. We're here to just literally achieve goals, create a dream life, build the things that we want to build, create the things that we want to create in life. And that's it. We are looking forward mostly. We only look back long enough to like get the learnings and like that's it. Anyways, I digress a tiny bit. To this day, like so many of my friends don't know what I do. They don't know, what I'm offering. They don't understand it. And that's okay. Right. And I'll show you how to get to this place where I can genuinely say that. I can genuinely support my friends. I can support their businesses and they don't necessarily have to support mine. And I can still do it with like no resentment, no nothing. I don't, expect anything in return. I really have come to that place. Although sometimes it does get me a little bit like, okay, this person still, like, it's just so, like, it just gets to the point where it's like, okay, I don't even want to, like, talk to this person as much or hang out with this person as much because all we do is, like, either talk about them or they only ask me about mom life or whatever, and I'm just, like, uninterested. It's not because I feel a certain kind of way about them anymore. It's just more so where I feel and I realize, like, this relationship is only going to be this deep for forever, and I'm not interested in this deep of relationships. I want deeper relationships, more, impactful relationships. I want more friendships that are more nurturing and more stimulating or whatever, right? So that's where I've gone, and it hasn't come from a place, from like, oh, well, she doesn't support me, so F her and like whatever. Like it doesn't come from that place at all. And I'm so proud of that because they've come a long way in terms of feeling and taking things personal. And now it just comes from a place of like, I think I've just outgrown certain environments and like, that's okay. And I could still kind of play in that environment and then jump out and then be in my next level, happily. Just one final kind of personal note of like how this all transpired, like, kind of with me. Like when I used to live in Miami, I was a completely different person. This was what now, 8 years ago, something like that. I was a completely different person. I was a bottle service girl. I was a single girl. I was, you know, just in the fast life, like I don't know how to explain it. I was just doing my own little thing, being my own little person, right? My life completely changed when I started doing something as simple as wellness rituals, focusing on my mind, body, and self, refocusing on myself. Okay. When I started doing that, my life started to change. I started to change internally, right? I even was like hosting little nights, little pizza nights and stuff where like my friends remember this, like they really do. When I would host these nights, like wine, pizza, whatever, and I would make them like talk about what they wanted out of life. I would make them talk about other things other than the club or how much money we're making or not making or what drama this person's in and this couple or whatever. I would make them talk about other things. I would vibe out. I would bring them into my vibe completely. And, I started changing like so much as a person. I, met my husband. We were dating, things like that. He would even host some of these, like sponsor some of these nights, like send me, pizzas and like whatever. Anyways, and then at some point, I quite literally quantum leaped into a new reality. I went and lived in Canada with him. I went through a huge internal transformation over there. I became an entrepreneur there. I became a fiance there. I became pregnant there. And then I went to live in California, had my daughter. I became a mother there. I became a wife there. And I pivoted my business and became basically a mindset coach there and an online entrepreneur. So I just became like, and if you know anything about any of those roles, they are huge personal development, life experience, like life altering experiences. I am not the same person. And then it all came full circle when we moved back to Miami, and that was about 6 years later. Okay. So when I came back 6 years later, I was no longer a bottle service girl, no longer that person, right? I was so different on so many levels. And I think that is mostly why it was difficult for everyone to kind of accept me as a different person because I was still, it's not like I was like, oh, like I don't dance on tables anymore. Like, listen, if you take me to Saint Tropez, I will definitely be getting on that table and with my rosé cup or whatever. Like but so I'm not like, oh, I don't like do that anymore or whatever, but I am a different person. I'm a mom now. I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm a wife now. My life is very different from what it was before and who I was before. And even the way I think and the way I hold myself and the value I give myself, it is just different now. And when I came back, there was a lot of my friends that were still in the same position that they were in prior to when I left. There were some that were different. There were some that were navigating their own things, like whatever. I am very much accustomed to evolvement. So I've always moved around quite a bit. I've always changed my environment quite a bit. So even though I like to pick up right where I left off with friends and family and whoever, like that's very easy for me. Like I also accept them where they're at now, right? That is an easy thing for me to do because I am that person that changes quite a bit and evolves quite a bit. So it's only natural for me to accept that change in others. But I just want to explain to you that I literally kind of catapulted back into like my old life. There was things that were still very much the same, still a lot of the same people that I would see. But yet I'm like a whole nother person. And it was interesting for me to navigate that transition because I was still like just understanding that I'm not that old person. It's the same environment, but I'm a different person. And then having those people react to the person that I am now It was something that I had to get used to. It was something that I had to be more myself in, more comfortable in myself in. And that took a while, right? Because for a second, like I was just saying, like, oh yeah, I'm just a mom. Like when I would see people out, like, oh, what are you doing? Like, that I haven't seen for 6 years. Oh, what are you doing now? I'm like, oh, I'm just a mom. Blech. You know what I mean? Like that's first of all, it's not fair to moms because like the word just is I could do a whole episode on the word just. But number two, like that's not what I am. Like, yes, it's my main priority, and I love that, right? I love being a mom, and I love that I put it as my forefront. However, that's not just what I do, right? It's like part of who I am, but like mostly what I do is like I'm a life coach. So this all took me again some time to kind of mesh together and the understanding of like me being a whole new person back in a very, very, very similar environment from when I left. And if you think of the polar opposite of who I used to be to being a life coach, right? Like that scene was the nightlife scene was so toxic. It was like, there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's money, there's cheating, there's like, there's not very many good values, So like, and I go to a whole nother life really of like being a life coach. So of course, like somebody's gonna probably be like, what do you mean? You're in the same industry as me. Like, what do you know about life? Except for this toxic environment, But it's like, even when I was in that environment, I was never of it, right? Like it never felt like normal to me by any means. And I got out of it, and it was hard to get out of it because I was in survival mode. I was mostly there for just the money, and I just, tolerated most of the other things, right? And of course, it was a good time too sometimes, right? So, of course, people are like, what? Like, skirt, like record scratch, because like we know what that industry and that life is like. It's not a very wholesome kind of life. And now you are what, a life coach? Like that could be bizarre for most people, which I understand. So yes, it took me some time to even myself be comfortable with who I was now in this environment. So let me start explaining to you guys why people are not quote unquote supportive of you in whatever life you have now, whatever next level that you have achieved now. In the graph by Robert Dilts, that's called Logical Levels of Change. You guys can Google it. It's on all my socials. You can DM me. Oh gosh, I'll send it to you. I live by this graph. It's like this pyramid, right? And at the very bottom is environment. At the very top, it's purpose. In between, it's behavior, capabilities, beliefs, values, identity. The reason like I love this graph is because it is telling, right? It is telling of what is required for change. And the very bottom is environment. And for me, it has been the catalyst to all of my up levels is changing my environment. I have not been afraid to change my environment, move different cities quite a bit, right? So I don't know if it's my Sagittarius rising, but a girl's not afraid to cross some borders. It's probably one of the easiest and hardest things you can do is like literally just move, but it can be such a catalyst, and it can kind of affect you upwards on that pyramid to change your behaviors, change your capabilities, change your beliefs and values, change your identity, and ultimately change your purpose, right? Just changing your environment can potentially do this because you open yourself up to something new, right? And that has happened to me time and time again with every big move. In those environments, though, there are people. There are people that in your old environment that will only see you the way they have seen you forever. If you change environments and then therefore you change your beliefs and values and even your identity and even your purpose, holy smokes, if you came back to that original environment, they're going to be like, no, they're going to try to pull you back down. They're going to say, that's not what we know. That's not what we do here. That's not who you are. You were the girl that used to dance on tables or whatever, Like we used to get wasted every weekend. We used to lie to guys and take advantage and, just party. Like, I don't know, whatever it is. It is going to be very hard for those people in those old environments to accept your new identity, the identity that is like, top of that pyramid, let alone your purpose. Like, for me, like that's being a life coach and having that, like being an example of what's possible and all sorts of things. And so like my purpose is has to do with being a life coach for sure. It's not like everything, but it has to do with being a life coach. So of course, this is like super difficult for people to understand that you change an environment and now you have a whole nother identity with different beliefs and values and all sorts of things. Of course, you have different behaviors and capabilities now, like that they are not going to grasp. Literally, when I did one of my first workshops out here and I invited some friends and like whatever, some of them know me well, some of them don't know me that well, they were like, whoa, like how, what? I didn't know that she knew all that stuff, right? And like one of my friends who has, I would say, kept up with my new identity and like all that stuff was like, yeah, that's who she is now, kind of like that's my friend. The truth is I was always a little bit like that, like this, right? Everybody that has ever had a very deep conversation with me knows that have always been a little bit like this. However, it was not what was outwardly portrayed so much in the environments that we were at. They just didn't give for the opportunity. So unless you were a very close friend and took that opportunity to call me or to have these kind of in-depth conversations with me, you would have never seen this side of me. The reason some people will not be supportive of that, okay, you just have to understand, is that change is hard. Change is hard for everyone, okay? So, like, it's already hard enough for them. Now it's hard for them to accept you, that you've been able to change. And so, therefore, it highlights kind of where they are and where they're not, where they've been able to change and where they haven't been able to change. I promise you, they don't know this consciously. But subconsciously, you are highlighting something for them that they don't want to see, okay? And that's change, the lack thereof. There's this cognitive dissonance that's happening in their mind that they don't understand how you've been able to change and they have not. How you are a different person in the same environment. Just how I was, it took me a little while to even kind of fully mesh that together, and I'm living it. It definitely is going to take them longer to mesh that together. And if they're not ready for change, then of course they're going to push back anything that's new. Okay? If they're not ready to kind of see that and accept that and be that, whatever, they're not going to, let you highlight those things. They're either going to distance themselves from you, cause problems with you, or just completely just not acknowledge where you are and what you're doing now. People stay in their comfort zones, in their conversations, in their relationship with you, in what they accept about you. Like, people want to remain comfortable, right? They don't want to be uncomfortable, and change is uncomfortable. So I really empathize with you if this is something that you are going through. And I want you to just understand that you do not have to take it personal, that you can step outside of yourself and see the other person for just the human being that they are, and just be accepting, which would be like, I guess, the first step is that you have to just, if these people are going to be in your life, you have to accept where they're at. Coming from a person who has lost friends, has lost family because of who I've become, right? The other thing that you have to do is just kind of decide if this is really, again, somebody that you want in your life. My friends are harmless, right? Like, they're not like going to like sabotage. There are some people that I've lost, right? But they're not going to like sabotage me or do something like that. Like, they're harmless. So like, I just accept them where they're at. I accept the relationship I'm going to have with them, I manage my own expectations of them, because that's where the discord happens, right? If I expect something different of them, that's where I feel negative when they don't meet those expectations. But if I adjust my expectations, I understand them for who they are and accept them for where they're at in life and what they're willing to accept about me, I'm okay with that. That's where I can bring it back down to neutral. And that's how you bring it back down to neutral. That is by doing more work, yet again, on ourselves, right? Is just being able to accept people for where they're at and remembering that you were there once too. So it's okay, right? The other thing that was a little bit difficult for me to accept sometimes, because I'm just naturally a little bit more of a reactive or defensive person, right? Which is also something that's not the best quality, but so I try to manage that. But I have to accept that people might have a misconception of me. They might think that like all I do is be a mom. They might think that it's easy to even just have that role, right? I might make it look easy. Like they might not, accept that like I'm doing so many other things and like whatever. I'm okay, and I accept that they might have a misconception about me, which again is like, I think for ambitious women especially, like we're all like, no, we're the quick to like defend ourselves, right? Because we've had to do it for so long on our own. That could be difficult for most ambitious women, but it is just possible, right? To just let people have a misconception about you. That's okay. The question is, do you know who you are? Do you accept who you are? Are you okay with that? Right? Are you okay with who you are? Then let them be. And lastly, this is kind of difficult, right? Because then it's like you have to really decide who's going to stay in your life and who's not, right? If there's some people that are negative to who you're becoming, like they are trying to bring you down, they are trying to sabotage you, they are causing problems. It is a lot of energy to start managing your mind and your emotions about what the drama that they're creating, or they're just creating a lot of friction. Then you do have to decide whether they're going to get to stay or go, right? And if that's the case, then you have to establish those boundaries. Establishing boundaries means you draw a line in the sand and you say, I'm not willing to go past this. And whatever that means for you, I'm okay with. If that means that you are no longer in my life, then I'm okay with the consequences of the line that I've drawn here for myself. Personally, I've had to do that as well, which is not fun and takes a lot of processing, which is why it's taken me so long to do an episode like this, because that's hard for me. And I even made an episode one time. I don't know if I still have it up or if I've archived it, but it was about mourning your old self, mourning your old life, mourning the people that were in that life, because they just simply can't come along with you, right? You have to know what you're willing to give for this new version of you. And I think that I will end it. I'm going to recap a little bit, but I'm going to end it on this note where it's okay, right? The people that are not supportive of you, it's okay if they stay, it's okay if they go. What you need to understand is that it's hard to see in the moment, but you are making space in your life for people that are more aligned to this next level version of you that you have created, this life that you said that you wanted. There's going to be different people there, okay? And although if you're like me, who's like hangs on to their relationships and, for dear life, and, wants to be a very loyal person and to their friends and things like that, like I get it. I empathize with you. I totally am like that. I mean, I hang on for dear life. I make up excuses for people. I do all those things, right? But there comes a time where you have to choose the life that you're creating. And that has to be more important, more valuable to you than what you are leaving kind of behind, right? And again, it doesn't mean that you have to toss everybody out. You can just manage your expectations about people. You can just accept that, you're only going to be at a certain level of depth in the relationship with these people. And then some people you might have to accept that they're no longer going to be in your life, sure. But you have to understand that what you are creating, I promise you, is much, much better than what you are kind of leaving behind. And again, it sounds kind of harsh for me to say that again, because I'm a very loyal person. I don't feel like I'm leaving anybody behind, but I don't want to leave anybody behind in that sense. And I don't want to feel like I'm above anybody, all those things. I get you. These are just the easiest words that I can find to kind of explain the situation. There's going to be something better. And it's okay. It's okay to mourn, to process, to feel a certain kind of way about stepping into this new level and accepting new things into your life, a new environment, new people, new behaviors, new capabilities, new values, new beliefs, new identities, and a new purpose at this next level. I know when I see content in regards to this subject, like online, on TikTok, whatever, it's usually pretty much like, oh, become successful and then you'll realize who your friends are. Like if your friends are not supporting you, then those are not your real friends, and like this and this and that. And I get that, and it's probably easy to feel that way. Even though it's like a harsh way to feel, yourself. I want to offer that you can still just there's other options, right? That doesn't have to be all or nothing, which unfortunately sometimes our mind goes to, right? Where it has to be like, either you're in or you're out, either you're my friend or you're not. But people are a little bit more complex than that. There's different layers to this, right? So there's different options. Again, you can accept people as they are and where they are. Manage your expectations, right? About your relationship with them, or just establish your boundaries, right? And understand what each relationship is going to look like, right? Each conversation is going to look like, so that you're not expecting people to ask you about your business or repost something or, whatever. You just know where they're at. You just know where they're at with you and their acceptance of you, and you're okay with people having misconceptions about you or not understanding you fully or whatever, your journey, things like that. Like, it's okay. There's different levels of friendship, of relationships, and it's just something that you are in control of. Get your power back and understand that it is up to you to think how you want to think and feel how you want to feel about your relationships, about these specific people in your life. And I promise you, if if nothing else, you'll feel so much better. Okay? Again, my heart is with you because I know how sensitive that can be. I know how lonely it could feel when you're transitioning, right? You're not necessarily at that you're like not in that old environment anymore, but you're also kind of like not at the next environment. So like that point of transition can be quite lonely and quite difficult. So I really again, I send you so much love because I understand that firsthand. And obviously you guys could always download the Get Zen AF app. It's a free community, and that's what we do. We really focus on our mind, our bodies, ourselves. We focus on really reprogramming and mastering that mindset, prioritizing our wellness, and embodying that next level self. So I built this community literally for this reason, this community reason, where this road might feel lonely, especially when you're on that mission to become your best self. So that's what we're all about, and I'm hoping to get more ambitious women in there on that same mission so that we can connect and collaborate and support each other. Okay, if this was useful, share your takeaways with me at Julia Garcia Devaney. And again, I apologize for being so out of breath. I'm 32 weeks pregnant and I'm like so winded. Okay, I love you guys. I'll see you. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening, Ambitious Babe. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share your favorite takeaways with me at Julia Garcia Devaney, and be sure to leave us a review, as that would mean so much. And if you're ready to put the Zen back into your hustle and love your ambitious journey, be sure to download the Get Zen AF app, where you'll learn to prioritize yourself and truly become the #1 asset in your life and business. It's available in the App Store and Google Play. Check out the links in the show notes, and I'll see you inside.